The gentle call of ancient skies. Welcome, dear travelers of the night, to our sanctuary of stories and science. Tonight, we embark upon a journey as old as time itself, a journey that spans continents and seasons, carried on wings that have followed the same invisible pathways for millions of years. Close your eyes now and imagine with me the first light of dawn breaking over a misty wetland, where thousands of birds are stirring, sensing something deep within their very souls, an ancient call that whispers of distant lands, of warmer shores, of the eternal dance between earth and sky. Tonight, we follow these remarkable creatures, these living compasses, as they navigate by starlight and magnetic fields, by the scent of ocean currents and the pull of ancestral memory. We will drift together through the sleepy science of bird migration, discovering how these small beings accomplish one of nature's most extraordinary feats. So settle deeper into your sanctuary of rest. Let your breathing slow and deepen as we begin our gentle journey along the ancient pathways in the sky. Chapter 1. The Awakening. When birds first learned to fly. 005 to 025. Long ago, in the misty depths of prehistoric time, when the world was young and wild, the first birds discovered something magical. They found that they could slip the bonds of earth and dance with the wind itself. Picture, if you will, a world 150 million years ago. The air was thick and warm, filled with the calls of creatures we can barely imagine. And there, among the ancient ferns and towering conifers, lived a small feathered being, not quite bird, not quite reptile, but something beautifully in between. This creature, let us call her Aria, for she would be the first to sing to the sky, discovered that her feathered arms could catch the morning breeze, could lift her small body just a little, just enough to glimpse the world from above. As you rest tonight, imagine Aria's wonder, that first moment of flight, the ground falling away beneath her, the sudden, breathtaking realization that the world was so much larger, so much more magnificent than she had ever dreamed. And in that moment of first flight, something extraordinary happened. Deep within Aria's tiny brain, ancient neural pathways began to form, pathways that would, over millions of years, become the most sophisticated navigation system in the natural world. Let us drift now deeper into this story as we explore how these pathways developed, how they grew into the miraculous ability we witness today. When millions of birds traverse vast oceans and continents guided by forces invisible to our human senses, the seasons turned, as seasons do, and Aria's descendants spread across the warming earth. Some ventured north, following the retreating ice, discovering new lands rich with insects and seeds. Others moved south, drawn by instinct they didn't yet understand, but trusted completely and slowly, generation by generation. These early birds began to notice something remarkable. The world itself seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with the rhythm of seasons. In summer, the northern lands burst with life, endless daylight and abundant food. But when the cold returned, when ice began to paint the lakes and rivers, these same lands became harsh and unwelcoming. But the birds, these remarkable creatures, discovered they didn't have to endure the harsh winters. They could follow the warmth, follow the light, traveling thousands of miles to find eternal summer. This was the birth of migration. This ancient dance between bird and season, a dance that has continued unbroken for millions of years. Through ice ages and warm periods, through the rise and fall of mountains, through the slow drift of continents themselves. As you drift deeper into sleep tonight, imagine this vast timeline stretching back through eons, each generation of birds adding to the collective knowledge, refining the ancient pathways, becoming ever more precise in their navigation, ever more committed to these journeys that would challenge the very limits of endurance. Chapter 2. The Sacred Compass, Magnetic Mysteries and Stellar Maps. Now, dear listener, as we wander deeper into this tale, let's explore one of nature's most beautiful mysteries. How do these small creatures, no larger than your hand, navigate across thousands of miles of ocean and land, with precision that would make our modern GPS systems seem clumsy by comparison? The answer lies hidden within their very beings, in organs so small and subtle that science is only beginning to understand their magic. Imagine with me now a tiny songbird, perhaps a warbler, weighing no more than a few coins, perched on a branch in your garden. But within this small creature's beak lies something extraordinary, clusters of magnetite crystals, each one perfectly aligned, creating a living compass more sensitive than any instrument humans have ever devised. These crystals, forged in the heart of ancient stars, now serve as guides for our feathered friends, connecting them to the Earth's magnetic field, that invisible force that wraps our planet like a gentle embrace, protecting us from cosmic winds and solar storms. But the magnetite is only part of the story, for our little warbler possesses another gift, even more remarkable. In its eyes, in the very cells that detect light, are special proteins called cryptochromes. And these proteins, when struck by the blue light of dawn, create something magical. They create a map of light, a shimmering, ethereal compass rose that only the bird can see, overlaid upon its vision like a gentle aurora, pointing always toward magnetic north. This is quantum biology at its most beautiful, where the strange laws of the quantum world serve the ancient needs of migration. As you rest tonight, picture this secret world of light and magnetism, invisible to our eyes, but as real and reliable as sunrise. Our small warbler sees not just a world of trees and flowers, but also the flowing lines of magnetic force, the quantum dance of electrons, the very fabric of space and time made visible. And beyond even these wonders, beyond the magnetite and the cryptochromes, lies perhaps the most beautiful navigation system of all, the stellar compass. For our birds are also astronomers, reading the night sky with a precision that would humble our greatest scholars. Long before humans learned to navigate by the stars, birds were following the celestial highways, the North Star, Polaris. That steady beacon around which all other stars seem to dance serves as their primary reference point. But unlike human navigators, birds don't need instruments or charts. The star map is written in their very DNA. In the darkness of their first autumn, young birds look up at the night sky, and something awakens within them, an ancient knowing. They watch the stars wheeling overhead, memorizing the patterns, the relationships, the eternal dance of constellations, and once learned, this celestial knowledge becomes part of them forever. Picture now a young Arctic tern on its first migration, about to embark on one of the longest journeys in the animal kingdom, from Arctic to Antarctic, from the top of the world to the bottom. And back again, this small bird, weighing less than a chocolate bar, will travel over 44,000 miles, seeing more of the Earth than most humans ever will. And it will navigate this incredible journey using the same tools that guided its ancestors: the pull of magnetism, the dance of quantum light, and the eternal wisdom of the stars. Let us drift now, following our young tern, as it spreads its wings and commits itself to the ancient pathways, trusting in forces older than mountains, older than oceans, as old as the turning of the world itself. Chapter 3. The Ancient Storytellers. How humans first watched the sky. As we journey deeper into the night, dear listener, let's pause to remember that humans too have always been watchers of the sky, long before we understood the science of migration. Our ancestors looked up with wonder at the great movements of birds, and wove these observations into the very fabric of their cultures. Picture, if you will, a small group of early humans, perhaps 40,000 years ago, gathered around a fire as darkness settles over the savanna. Above them, the sky fills with the sound of wings, thousands upon thousands of birds flying north in great V formations, their calls echoing through the night like an ancient song. The eldest member of the group, let's call him Anan, which means cloud in an ancient tongue, points toward the sky with wonder. He has watched this phenomenon for 70 seasons, and still it fills him with awe. Where do they go? Asks a young girl, her eyes wide with curiosity. What calls them away from us? And Anan, wise in the ways of his people, begins to tell a story that will be passed down through generations, becoming part of the great tapestry of human understanding Long ago, he says, his voice gentle in the firelight, the Great Spirit gave the birds a special gift, the gift of two homes, one for the season of warmth and plenty, and one for the season of cold and scarcity. And so they travel, following the path of the sun, carrying messages between the worlds. This story, simple and beautiful, contains profound wisdom. For though Anan couldn't know about magnetic fields or quantum biology, he understood something essential, that the bird's journey was part of something larger, something sacred, something that connected earth and sky, season and cycle. In an endless dance of renewal, gentle breathing space. As you rest tonight, imagine yourself sitting by that ancient fire, feeling the warmth on your face, hearing the sound of wings overhead, connecting with thousands of generations of humans who have looked up in wonder at the mystery of migration across the world. In every culture that has watched the sky, similar stories arose. The ancient Egyptians saw migrating birds as messengers of the gods, carrying souls between the world of the living and the realm of the eternal. Their hieroglyphs show birds with human heads, symbolizing this sacred journey. In Norse mythology, ravens flew across the 9 realms, bringing news to Odin, the All-Father. These were not mere birds, but cosmic travelers, navigating the spaces between worlds with wisdom beyond mortal understanding. The ancient Greeks told of the halcyon, a bird so devoted to its mate that it would calm the very storms of winter to build its nest upon the waves. This became the origin of our phrase halcyon days, those peaceful moments when even the sea itself holds its breath in reverence. And in China, the legend of the crane speaks of birds that live for 1,000 years, carrying the souls of the righteous to heaven on their wings. These celestial birds were said to know the secrets of immortality, traveling between earth and the realm of the ancestors. But perhaps the most beautiful story comes from the indigenous peoples of North America, who spoke of the singing sky. The migration of birds, they said, was the earth's way of breathing, inhaling in spring as the birds returned, exhaling in autumn as they departed. This breath of the earth, this rhythm of arrival and departure, was seen as the heartbeat of the world itself. These ancient observers, with their careful watching and poetic understanding, notice something that modern science has only recently confirmed, that bird migration is not random, not chaotic, but follows precise patterns that repeat year after year, generation after generation. They saw that certain birds always arrived with the first spring flowers, others with the ripening of berries, still others with the first falling leaves. They used these arrivals and departures as a natural calendar, knowing when to plant, when to harvest, when to prepare for winter sleep. Let us drift now, carrying these ancient stories with us, as we explore how modern science has revealed the incredible truth behind the myths, how the metaphors of our ancestors, their talk of spirit and magic, point toward realities even more wonderful than they imagined. Chapter 4. The Science of Wonder Modern Discoveries. Now, gentle traveler, as we continue our quiet journey through the night, let us explore how modern science has unveiled the extraordinary mechanisms behind bird migration. Discoveries so remarkable that they seem to blur the line between science and magic. It was only in the 1950s that scientists first began to understand the true scope of bird migration. Before then, many people believed that birds simply disappeared in winter, perhaps hibernating like bears or traveling to the moon. Such was the mystery of their vanishing. But then, with the development of radar during World War II, researchers made an astonishing discovery. The skies were filled with travelers, invisible to the naked, millions of birds crossing continents under cover of darkness, following routes that had been hidden from human knowledge for millennia. Dr. Franz Sauer, a German ornithologist, made one of the first breakthrough discoveries in 1957. He raised young warblers in a planetarium, never allowing them to see the real night sky. Yet when migration season arrived, these birds began to orient themselves according to the artificial star patterns projected on the dome above them. When he changed the star patterns, the birds changed their orientation, proving conclusively that they were navigating by celestial cues, reading the night sky like a vast cosmic map. Imagine the wonder of that moment, watching tiny birds born in captivity respond to artificial stars, as if they carried the wisdom of ages in their very DNA. This was the first glimpse into the incredible sophistication of the avian navigation system. But the mysteries only deepened. In the 1960s, researchers discovered that birds could navigate even on cloudy nights, when no stars were visible. This led to the discovery of the magnetic compass, that remarkable ability to sense the Earth's magnetic field. Dr. Wolfgang Wiltschko, working with European robins, made another groundbreaking discovery. He found that birds could be disoriented by strong magnetic fields, proving that they were indeed using magnetism to navigate. But the mechanism remained a mystery. It wasn't until the early 2000s that scientists discovered the cryptochromes, those quantum proteins in birds' eyes that allow them to literally see magnetic fields. This discovery opened an entirely new field of study, quantum biology, where the strange laws of quantum mechanics serve the practical needs of living creatures. Picture this, dear listener, as you drift deeper into rest, your consciousness settling like a bird coming home to roost. These tiny proteins, smaller than anything visible to the naked, existing in a state of quantum superposition, neither fully here nor there until the moment of observation collapses their wave function into a definite state. This is the quantum compass, operating according to principles that seem to defy common sense, yet guiding birds across vast distances with unfailing accuracy. It's as if each migrating bird carries within itself a piece of the fundamental mystery of the universe. But even these discoveries were just the beginning. Modern tracking technology has revealed migration routes of breathtaking complexity and beauty. The bar-tailed godwit, a shorebird no larger than a pigeon, makes the longest nonstop flight of any bird, traveling over 7,000 miles from Alaska to New Zealand without landing, without stopping to eat or drink for 9 straight days and nights. How is this possible? The godwit's body transforms before migration, its digestive organs shrinking to make room for enlarged flight muscles and fuel reserves. It becomes a living aircraft, perfectly adapted for its incredible journey. And the Arctic tern, that remarkable bird we met earlier, has been tracked making a migration of over 44,000 miles annually from Arctic to Antarctic and back in its lifetime. A single Arctic tern may travel over 1.5 million miles, equivalent to 3 round trips to the moon. These journeys are not random wanderings, but follow precise routes passed down through generations. Young birds learning from their elders, memorizing landmarks and magnetic signatures, building an inherited map that spans continents. Some routes follow ancient coastlines, now submerged beneath the sea, suggesting that these pathways were established when the world was very different, when ice sheets covered much of the northern hemisphere, and the geography of continents was transformed. The birds carry within their migrations the history of the Earth itself, flying routes that remembered the retreat of glaciers, the formation of mountain ranges, the slow dance of continents across geological time. As you rest tonight, imagine this deep time, these ancient pathways written in DNA and starlight, connecting our modern world to the very origins of life on Earth. Each migrating bird a living link to the past and a promise to the future. The quiet hour. And now, dear listener, we arrive at the quiet hour of our journey, that sacred time when night deepens, when the world grows still, and the ancient pathways in the sky become most clear. Let us rest here for a while in the gentle embrace of darkness, allowing our minds to settle like leaves falling on still water, each breath carrying us deeper into the mystery, deeper into the wonder of this remarkable world we share with our feathered companions. Picture yourself now, standing in a moonlit meadow, the air soft and warm around you. Above, the great river of migration flows silently overhead, thousands of small lives trusting themselves to the ancient currents of instinct and starlight. You cannot see them, but you can feel their presence, the whisper of wings, the quiet determination of creatures, following a calling older than memory. Each bird carrying within itself the accumulated wisdom of countless generations, the knowledge of safe harbors and favorable winds, of magnetic anomalies and celestial landmarks. In this quiet hour, let us simply be present with the wonder, the mystery that surrounds us always, but which we so rarely pause to notice. The earth beneath our feet is alive with magnetic fields, pulsing with the slow heartbeat of the planet's core. The air around us shimmers with quantum possibilities, with information invisible to our senses but perfectly clear to the creatures who share our world. We are not separate from this miracle. We too are part of the great pattern, the vast web of connection that links all living things. The iron in our blood, the same mineral that guides the birds, once burned in the heart of a dying star. We are made of starlight, just as they are children of the same cosmic story. Let this knowledge settle into your bones, into your dreams, as we continue our gentle journey, following the ancient pathways, trusting in the wisdom that flows through all living things, the wisdom that needs no maps or instruments, only the courage to spread our wings and fly. The night is deep now, and welcoming. The stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance. The same stars that have guided countless migrations, witness the rise and fall of species, the slow transformation of landscapes, the patient work of evolution crafting ever more perfect navigators. In the distance, perhaps you can hear the faint calls of night migrant sandpipers and plovers, vireos and warblers, each species following its own ancient route, its own seasonal schedule, yet all part of the same great movement, the same eternal pilgrimage between winter and summer, between abundance and scarcity, between the known and the unknown. Rest now in this knowledge, in this connection. Let the rhythm of your breath synchronize with the rhythm of wings, the pulse of planetary magnetism, the slow turning of the celestial sphere. You are held, supported, part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than the boundaries of individual existence. The quiet hour continues deep and peaceful, carrying us gently toward the dawn of understanding, toward the light that illuminates all mysteries, all wonders, all the secret pathways that connect earth to sky, present to past, one moment of existence to the next. In this sacred stillness, as your breathing deepens and slows, imagine that you too possess the ancient wisdom of navigation. Feel the pull of magnetic north, gentle and constant, like a whispered invitation toward home. The quantum light dances behind your closed eyelids, creating patterns of possibility, maps of dreams yet to be explored. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the wing beats of countless travelers, each pulse a moment in the great migration of consciousness, from waking to sleeping, from day thoughts to night visions, from the solid world of facts to the fluid realm of dreams. The meadow around you breathes with the rhythm of seasons, grass bending in night breezes that carry the scent of distant shores, of mountain passes, of forests where no human foot has ever stepped. These are the pathways of the air, invisible highways that connect all places, all times, all possibilities. Rest deeper now, deeper still, knowing that you're part of this eternal movement, this flow of life that never ceases, never hesitates, always finds its way home. The quiet hour holds you gently, as it has held countless others, as it will hold those yet to come, in the endless sanctuary of night. Chapter 5. The Great Flyways, Rivers of Life in the Sky. As we drift onward through our night journey, dear listener, let us rise gently from our meadow rest and soar with the birds themselves, following the great flyways, those invisible rivers in the sky that channel millions of lives between their winter and summer homes. There are 4 great flyways that span our continent, each one a superhighway of migration, carved by millions of years of trial and discovery, refined by countless generations until they became as fixed and reliable as the rivers that flow across the land below. Picture yourself now floating high above North America, seeing the continent as the birds see it, not as a collection of human borders and cities, but as a landscape of opportunity and challenge, of safe havers and dangerous crossings, of ancient landmarks and magnetic anomalies that serve as guideposts in the sky. The Atlantic Flyway stretches along the eastern coast from the Arctic tundra of Canada to the tropical shores of South America. Each autumn, over 500 million birds follow this ancient route, riding the thermals that rise from sun-warmed beaches, island hopping across the Caribbean, navigating by the curve of coastlines that have guided their ancestors for eons. Among these travelers, the red-knot holds a special place in our hearts. This remarkable shorebird, no larger than a robin, undertakes one of the most precisely timed migrations in the natural world, flying from the Arctic to Argentina and back. It depends on a series of stopover sites, each one perfectly positioned to provide the fuel needed for the next leg of the journey. Soft, wandering tone. The most critical stop occurs along the Delaware Bay, where horseshoe crabs, themselves ancient mariners, come ashore to spawn just as the red knots arrive. The timing is exquisite, refined over millions of years. The crab's eggs provide the concentrated energy the knots need, doubling their body weight in just 2 weeks, preparing them for the final push to their Arctic breeding grounds. This is the poetry of migration, the way individual stories interweave, how the journey of one species depends on the life cycle of another, creating a web of connection that spans continents and seasons. Let us drift now westward to the Central Flyway, that great river of life that flows through the heart of the continent, following the spine of the Rocky Mountains, channeling birds between the prairies of Canada and the grasslands of Mexico. Here, the sandhill cranes gather each spring along the Platte River in Nebraska, over 500,000 of these magnificent birds, their calls echoing across the grasslands like the voices of ancient spirits. They rest here for weeks, feeding in the cornfields, building strength for the journey ahead to their breeding grounds in Alaska and Siberia. To witness this gathering, as thousands have over the years, is to see time itself made visible. These same cranes have been following this route for over 10 million years, their DNA carrying the memory of landscapes that existed before humans walked the earth. When vast inland seas covered the Great Plains, when the geography of North America was utterly transformed, the Mississippi Flyway follows the great river that bisects our continent. This watery highway provides a chain of wetlands and forests, each one perfectly positioned to support the incredible diversity of birds that follow its course, from tiny hummingbirds to massive pelicans. Over 325 species use this route, making it the most diverse of all the flyways. And here, we encounter one of migration's most mysterious phenomena. The ruby-throated hummingbird, weighing less than a penny, somehow finds the courage to launch itself across the Gulf of Mexico. 500 miles of open water, with no place to rest, no opportunity to feed, trusting entirely in its ability to store enough energy for this death-defying leap. For such a tiny creature, this journey represents the absolute limits of what is physically possible, burning fat reserves so completely that it arrives on the other side with barely enough energy to survive. Yet year after year, generation after generation, these tiny jewels of the air complete this incredible crossing, guided by instincts we are only beginning to understand. Finally, the Pacific Flyway stretches along the western coast from Alaska to Patagonia. Here, the geography creates unique challenges and opportunities. The coastal mountains channel birds along specific routes, while the Pacific Ocean provides its own highways of wind and current. The bar-tailed godwit, that remarkable long-distance champion we met earlier, follows this flyway on its record-breaking journey from the mudflats of Alaska. It launches itself across the vast Pacific, navigating by stars and magnetic fields, riding wind currents with such precision that it arrives at its destination in New Zealand with mathematical accuracy. But perhaps the most touching story along this flyway belongs to the Arctic tern. For this small bird, the Pacific Flyway is just one segment of an incredible global journey. After breeding in the Arctic, it follows the western coast south, then crosses to Africa down to Antarctica, and back north again, experiencing 2 summers each year, living in perpetual sunlight, never knowing the darkness of winter. as you rest tonight, imagine the courage required for these journeys, the absolute trust in forces beyond understanding. Each bird, no matter how small, carrying within itself the accumulated wisdom of its species, the knowledge of safe passages and reliable landmarks of wind patterns and star positions, of the subtle signs that indicate danger or opportunity. These flyways, these rivers in the sky, are more than just migration routes. They are the arteries through which life itself flows, connecting ecosystems across vast distances, carrying nutrients from ocean to land, from tropical abundance to Arctic scarcity, maintaining the delicate balance that allows our planet to thrive. Let us follow these aerial highways deeper into the individual stories of courage and endurance, of navigation and timing, of the countless small miracles that make migration possible. Chapter 6: Tales of Endurance, the Heroes of Migration. Now, gentle dreamer, as we soar deeper into the night, let us draw closer to the individual heroes of migration. Those remarkable creatures whose journeys challenge everything we thought we knew about the limits of endurance, of navigation, of sheer determination. Each species has its own story, its own unique adaptation to the challenges of long-distance travel. And in these stories, we find inspiration that transcends the boundaries between human and animal, between the possible and the impossible. Let's begin with the wandering albatross, that master of the southern oceans, with wings that span nearly 12 feet. This magnificent bird can soar for hours without a single wing beat, riding the wind currents that circle the Antarctic like a living conveyor belt. Young albatrosses spend their first 5 to 10 years entirely at sea, never touching land, never resting on anything more solid than the rolling waves. They sleep while gliding, drink seawater, and navigate across thousands of miles of seemingly identical ocean, yet somehow always know exactly where they are. Scientists have tracked individual albatrosses flying over 75,000 miles in a single year, circling the entire southern hemisphere multiple times, following wind patterns invisible to human senses, riding the storms that would terrify even our largest ships. Picture this magnificent creature, alone above the endless sea, wings locked in perfect position, reading the subtle signs of wind and wave, the color of the water that indicates depth, the behavior of other seabirds that reveals the presence of fish. This is navigation raised to the level of art, of poetry written in motion across the canvas of the sky. But if the albatross is the master of endurance over distance, then the ruby-throated hummingbird represents the triumph of determination over size. We spoke earlier of its crossing of the Gulf of Mexico, but the full scope of this tiny bird's journey is even more remarkable. Weighing just 3 grams, less than a teaspoon of sugar, the ruby-throat travels from Canada to Central America each year, a journey of over 2,000 miles for a creature no larger than your thumb. To put this in perspective, if a human could match this feat proportionally, we would be capable of flying to the moon before beginning its migration. The ruby-throat enters a state called hyperphagia, consuming nectar with such intensity that it doubles its body weight, transforming itself into a living fuel tank. Every flower visited, every insect caught, becomes part of the energy reserve that will carry it across impossible distances. And the timing, oh, the exquisite timing, the ruby-throat departs just as the flowers begin to fade in the north, arriving in the tropics precisely when new blooms are opening. It follows corridors of flowering plants that stretch across continents, a chain of nectar stations that exist because of millions of years of coevolution between bird and blossom. But perhaps no migration story captures the imagination quite like that of the Arctic tern. This small seabird, elegant and ethereal, undertakes the longest migration of any animal on Earth, from Arctic to Antarctic and back again. An annual journey of over 44,000 miles, the Arctic tern experiences more daylight than any other creature on our planet. Following the endless summer from pole to pole, it lives in perpetual brightness, witnessing the midnight sun of both hemispheres, carrying within its memory the ice and snow of both ends of the earth. Young terns on their first migration have no guide but instinct, no map but the one written in their DNA, yet they navigate with such precision that they arrive at destinations they have never seen, following routes over trackless ocean, trusting in forces they cannot comprehend but have never failed them. The journey is not without its perils. Storms that can scatter flocks across hundreds of miles, exhaustion that pushes the birds to the very edge of survival, predators waiting at stopover sites, human-made obstacles that didn't exist when these routes were first established. Yet still they fly generation after generation, carrying with them the unbroken chain of migration that stretches back millions of years, each successful journey adding to the collective knowledge, refining the routes, improving the odds for future generations. And then there are the mysteries that still baffle scientists. The sooty shearwater, which migrates in a figure-8 pattern across the entire Pacific Ocean, traveling over 40,000 miles annually, visiting the waters off Japan, Alaska, California, Chile, New Zealand, following currents and upwellings that bring nutrients to the surface, timing its arrival to coincide with blooms of marine life. How does this bird, with a brain no larger than a walnut, coordinate such a complex itinerary? How does it know that krill will be abundant off the Aleutian Islands in July, that sardines will school near Monterey Bay in September, that squid will rise to the surface near New Zealand in December? The answer, as with so many aspects of migration, remains beautifully mysterious, a reminder that nature still holds secrets, still operates according to principles we are only beginning to glimpse. As you drift deeper into sleep tonight, imagine yourself possessing such certainty, such unwavering trust in your ability to find your way, even across vast distances, even through storms and darkness, even when the path ahead seems impossible. You carry within yourself the wisdom of ages, the accumulated knowledge of all who have traveled this way before. The heroes of migration teach us that size does not determine significance, that the smallest creatures can accomplish the greatest feats, that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to spread your wings despite the vastness of the journey ahead. Let their stories become part of your dreams, their determination become part of your strength, their trust in the ancient pathways become part of your faith in the mysterious forces that guide us all toward home. Chapter 7. The Challenges of a Changing World. As we glide softly through the deeper hours of night, dear traveler, we must pause to acknowledge that the ancient pathways our feathered friends have followed for millions of years are facing challenges unlike any in the history of migration. But let us approach these challenges not with despair, but with the same wonder and hope that guides the birds themselves. For in understanding the obstacles, we also discover the remarkable resilience, the adaptability, and the enduring spirit that makes migration one of nature's most inspiring phenomena. The world has always been a place of change. Ice ages have come and gone. Sea levels have risen and fallen. Continents have drifted across the face of the earth. And through it all, the birds have adapted, found new routes, discovered new stopover sites, proven again and again that life finds a way in recent decades. However, the pace of change has accelerated. The night sky, once a clear canvas of stars, is now painted with the glow of human cities, creating what scientists call light pollution. This artificial brightness can confuse night migrating birds, disrupting their celestial navigation, drawing them off course like moths to a flame. Yet even here, we find stories of adaptation. Many birds have learned to migrate at higher altitudes, above the dome of city light. Others have shifted their timing, traveling during the darkest hours before dawn, when the artificial glow is weakest. The glass towers that reach toward the sky in our cities, while beautiful to human eyes, can become invisible barriers to birds, especially during foggy nights when the glass reflects nothing but darkness. Yet architects and urban planners are learning to design bird-friendly buildings, using special glass that birds can see, creating safe corridors through urban landscapes. Climate change, perhaps the greatest challenge of our time, is altering the timing of seasons, causing flowers to bloom earlier, insects to emerge at different times, disrupting the precise synchronization that migration depends upon. The red knot, whose story we heard earlier, sometimes arrives at the Delaware Bay to find that the horseshoe crab eggs have already hatched. The feasted depends on already consumed. But watch how life responds. Some bird populations are shifting their timing, evolving more flexible schedules. Young birds are learning new stopover sites, expanding their repertoire of survival strategies. The phenomenon scientists call phenotypic plasticity, the ability to adapt behavior within a single generation, is allowing many species to keep pace with rapid change. Voice becomes more intimate and reassuring. Perhaps most inspiring is how humans are awakening to their role as partners in migration. Communities along flyways are creating safe havens, restoring wetlands, planting native flowers, timing their activities to minimize disruption during peak migration periods. In Delaware Bay, volunteers now monitor beach disturbance during red knot stopover season. In Nebraska, farmers are paid to flood their fields, creating temporary wetlands for migrating waterfowl. Along the Gulf Coast, lighthouse keepers dim their beacons during peak migration nights, reducing the confusion that bright lights can cause. Young people around the world are becoming citizen scientists, using apps on their phones to report bird sightings, contributing to a global network of migration monitoring that helps scientists track changes in real time. Every observation, every photograph, every careful note becomes part of the growing body of knowledge that helps us protect these ancient journeys. And the birds themselves, the birds continue to amaze us with their resilience. Peregrine falcons, once nearly extinct due to pesticide poisoning, now thrive in urban environments, nesting on skyscrapers, hunting the pigeons and starlings that have learned to live alongside humans. Bald eagles, symbolic of wilderness and freedom, have learned to fish in suburban ponds, to nest in trees surrounded by housing developments. Their populations have recovered so dramatically that they've been removed from the endangered species list, a testament to both their adaptability and human commitment to conservation. Some species are pioneering entirely new migration routes, establishing populations in places they've never lived before. The house finch, originally a bird of the western United States, was introduced to New York in the 1940s. Within decades, it had established a completely new flyway along the eastern seaboard, proving that migration patterns, while ancient, are not unchangeable. Voice becomes warm and encouraging as you rest in the comfort of your sanctuary tonight. Take heart in knowing that the great migrations continue, that millions of birds are at this very moment following the ancient pathways, trusting in their inherited wisdom, adapting to new challenges, writing new chapters in the ongoing story of life on Earth. The dawn chorus that will greet tomorrow's sunrise will include voices that have traveled thousands of miles to be there, birds that have crossed oceans and continents, following magnetic fields and star maps, carrying with them the eternal message that home is not a place, but a calling, a direction written in the heart. The challenges are real, but so is the hope, so is the resilience of life itself, so is the growing awareness among humans that we share this world, that our destiny is intertwined with the destiny of every creature that flies, walks, swims, or grows in the soil beneath our feet. Let this knowledge settle into your dreams, this understanding that you are part of something larger, something more resilient and adaptable and ultimately hopeful than any single challenge, any single lifetime, any single moment in the vast sweep of evolutionary time. The ancient pathways endure. The migration continues, and tomorrow somewhere in the world, a young bird will spread its wings for the first time and trust itself to the sky. Chapter 8. The Future of Flight, New Discoveries and Endless Wonder. As we approach the gentle dawn of our journey together, dear listener, let us lift our eyes toward the horizon, toward the discoveries yet to be made, the mysteries yet to be solved, the wonders yet to be revealed in the ongoing story of bird migration, science, that beautiful marriage of curiosity and patience, continues to unveil new layers of complexity in the navigation systems that guide our feathered friends, each discovery more remarkable than the last, each answer leading to deeper questions, deeper appreciation for the sophistication of natural design. Recent research has revealed that some birds can actually see magnetic fields, not just sense them, but perceive them as patterns of light and shadow overlaid on their normal vision. Imagine if you can looking up at the sky and seeing not just clouds and blue expanse, but also the flowing lines of magnetic force, like aurora made visible, creating a landscape of invisible highways, readable only to those with the gift of magnetic sight. Scientists working with migratory birds have discovered quantum entanglement in the cryptochromes, those special proteins we spoke of earlier. This means that particles within a bird's eye exist in a state of quantum connection, instantly affecting each other regardless of distance. The bird's navigation system operates according to the same mysterious principles that govern the behavior of atoms and electrons. We are learning that bird migration involves not just individual navigation, but collective intelligence. Flocks share information in ways we are only beginning to understand. Birds at the front of a formation somehow communicate wind conditions to those behind. Young birds learn not just from their parents, but from the accumulated wisdom of the entire flock. New tracking technologies, smaller and more sophisticated than ever before, are revealing migration routes of stunning complexity. Birds that were thought to fly directly between breeding and wintering grounds actually follow intricate pathways that maximize favorable winds, avoid dangerous weather, and take advantage of feeding opportunities along the way. Perhaps most exciting, we are discovering that migration is not fixed, not unchangeable, but constantly evolving. Birds are pioneers, explorers, constantly testing new routes, new timing, new strategies. Some individuals in every population venture into unknown territory, serving as scouts for their species, potential founders of new traditions. This pioneering spirit, this willingness to explore, to risk the unknown in search of something better, connects bird migration to the deepest currents of evolution itself, to the fundamental creativity that drives life to fill every available niche, to explore every possible way of being. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are now being used to analyze the vast amounts of data collected from migrating birds, revealing patterns too complex for human minds to detect. Correlations between weather systems and flight paths, relationships between solar activity and navigation accuracy, connections that span multiple scales of space and time. And as our understanding deepens, so does our appreciation for what migration represents, not just as a biological phenomenon, but as a metaphor for resilience, for trust, for the courage to venture into uncertainty guided only by inherited wisdom and the promise of return. Young researchers around the world are asking new questions, developing new technologies, opening new windows into the mystery of migration. Some are studying how birds respond to space weather, how solar storms affect their magnetic compass. Others are investigating the role of smell in navigation, discovering that birds can detect odors from thousands of miles away, following scent trails as distinctive as fingerprints. There are experiments in progress that would seem like science fiction. Scientists are learning to decode the electrical signals in birds' brains during navigation, literally reading the neural patterns that represent magnetic north, or the position of the sun, or the memory of a distant feeding ground. But perhaps the most important discovery is that migration belongs not just to birds, but to all of us. The same forces that guide birds across continents, the magnetic fields, the rotation of the earth, the light of distant stars. These same forces flow through us, connect us to the cosmos, remind us that we too are participants in something vast and beautiful and ongoing. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, all of it forged in the hearts of ancient stars, scattered across space by stellar winds, gathered by gravity into the planets and moons and living creatures that populate our solar system. We are not observers of the cosmic story. We are characters in it, participants in the same great adventure that sends birds across impossible distances, guided by quantum compasses and starlight memories. As technologies advance, as our understanding deepens, we are developing new ways to support and protect migration. Climate-controlled corridors in cities, perfectly timed artificial lighting that guides birds safely through urban areas, international cooperation to preserve critical habitat along flyways that span multiple countries and continents. The future of migration is being written now in the decisions we make about how to share our world, in the technologies we develop to better understand navigation, in the stories we tell our children about the wonders that surround us always. If we only know how to look, and perhaps as our understanding of bird navigation grows more sophisticated, we will develop new ways for humans to find their path, to navigate not just through physical space, but through the challenges and opportunities of life itself, guided by the same ancient wisdom that sends birds across oceans, the wisdom that says, trust the journey, trust the inherited knowledge, trust that there's always a way home. The discoveries continue. The questions multiply. The wonder deepens, and somewhere tonight, a bird is preparing for its first migration, feeling the ancient stirring, the call of distant places, preparing to trust itself to forces it cannot see, but has never failed to find reliable. Tomorrow brings new insights, new technologies, new appreciation for the miracle that unfolds above our heads every day and night. As billions of navigators follow pathways written in starlight and magnetism, in DNA and dreams, in the eternal conversation between earth and sky, the eternal return. And so, dear traveler of the night, our journey along the ancient pathways draws toward its gentle close. But like the migrations we have followed, this is not truly an ending, but a turning, a completion of one cycle that prepares the way for the next. As the first hints of dawn begin to touch the eastern sky, imagine one last time. The stirring of wings in a distant marsh, the lifting of countless small bodies into the brightening air, each bird carrying within itself the accumulated wisdom of ages, the unbroken chain of successful journeys that stretches back to the very origins of flight. They rise together, these navigators of impossible distances, trusting in forces invisible and ancient, following pathways that connect not just places but moments in time, linking the eternal past to the endless future, making visible the great currents that flow through all existence. You too carry within yourself the wisdom of successful journeys, the inherited knowledge of all who have traveled this way before. In your dreams tonight, let yourself remember this connection, this participation in something vast and beautiful and ongoing. Feel the pull of magnetic north, gentle and constant, like a compass pointing always toward home. See the quantum light dancing behind your closed eyelids, creating maps of possibility, pathways of wonder yet to be explored. Trust in the ancient wisdom, the inherited navigation system that guides all life toward its true destination. Let your breathing synchronize with the rhythm of wings, your heartbeat keep time with the pulse of planetary forces. Your dreams flow along the aerial highways that connect all places, all times, all possibilities. The migration continues in the sky above, in the dreams below, in the space between sleeping and waking where all true journeys begin. Rest now in the sanctuary of night, held by the same forces that guide birds across impossible distances, knowing that morning will come, but the pathways endure, that there is always, always a way home. Sleep well, gentle dreamer. The ancient pathways hold you. The stars watch over your journey, and somewhere in the distance, wings are still beating, carrying hope and wonder toward tomorrow's dawn.